Good morning, PT on Ice Daily Show. Happy Friday morning. Hope your Friday is off to a great start so far. Sorry we were late. Experiencing a lot of problems with Facebook Live on the computer, but I think we got it here on the phone. So sorry we're not live on Instagram at the same time. So today, what are we talking about? We're talking about the flow of a properly dosed session. So oftentimes we get questions. What does it look like time-wise? What are you trying to fit in? What does it look like movement-wise? What are you trying to pack in to an hour? And how can we get it done in an hour? How much stuff are you trying to get done? So we're going to talk about that. Before we get started, just remember all of our online courses are starting up in May. We have Persistent Pain Management with Justin starting May 11th. And then all the other online courses beginning the week after that. Modern Management Older Adult Live. We have Fitness Athlete already started this past week, but we have Fitness Athlete Pregnancy and Postpartum starting the week of the 18th. Modern Management Older Adult starting online, Telehealth, and then we have a couple courses beginning in June, Primary Care PT and Out of Network, all beginning online. And then we are hopeful we'll be returning to live in-person courses in June as well. Don't forget to check out all of our free resources on ptnice.com. Click on the resources tab. Make sure you're signed up for Hump Day Hustle. Grab those free resources as well. So I came to the clinic today. Clinic's been closed for 6 weeks now, which is crazy to think, and it might be closed for another 2 to 6, which is a little bit sad to think about, but I came here because we have these nice big whiteboards. This whiteboard I think is 5 feet tall. I bought it on accident, but I'm really glad I did because it's huge. And we basically have this, but turned horizontal, mounted out in the gym, and that's where we write our sessions on. Mitch did a great episode maybe a month or two back on why you need a whiteboard in the clinic, and I'm going to hopefully prove that point again to you today. But I want to talk about the flow of a session. So we get questions like, how do you fit all this into an hour? Or the opposite, do you find that you're ever finishing early when you really have a structured plan, when you have it written out and it goes according to plan? Do you ever find yourself finishing early? And the answer is I never find myself finishing early or late. It's generally about an hour. And I'm going to take you through what that process looks like. So hopefully, if you're on the podcast, please jump over to Facebook, jump over to Instagram, check out Instagram TV, or check this video out on YouTube because it's going to be pretty visual from here on out. And I hope it's reversed and backwards for me, but I'm hoping those of you on Facebook, I see you there. Hopefully this is flipped the right way for you. So I'll move out of the way. So top to bottom, we'll go through what a session looks like. Of course, following the symptom behavior model, the first point here is reassessment. Ideally, that would take 5 minutes, right? The patient comes in, you have your asterisk signs, you're checking them over, everything's going according to plan. They're a little bit better, and you can objectively prove that to yourself in the patient with the symptom behavior model by reassessing those asterisk signs. Hopefully that takes 5 minutes. On a good day, that's just a quick check, making sure the patient is indeed getting better, measuring those asterisk signs, and then moving on to the rest of the session. We know that doesn't always go that way, right? Some folks come in and they're flared up, or whatever is going on that may be out of their control in their life, whatever stressors are going on are really impacting their progress. And so I put 5 minutes to question marks, right? I've certainly had sessions go where I have a beautiful session planned and the patient comes in and kind of the wheels fall off the bus, right? And we spend maybe a lot of time reassessing. Maybe we never get out to the gym. Maybe we spend a lot of time talking. Maybe we spend time talking about sleep or mindfulness or diet, and we don't really get to what I had planned, but that's okay, right? So I put 5 minutes to question marks. So budgeted time at the top of the hour for that reassessment in your session. From there, if things are going well, things are going according to plan, we have a warm-up. Something we don't do in physical therapy is warm our patients up in a doctoral level manner, right? In a focused manner that follows the principles we know of a quality warm-up from strength and conditioning, that we're going to do some general warm-up to get our heart rate elevated. We're going to do some dynamic exercise, and then we're going to get moving into some specific warm-up. Typically, we see people come in and they just jump on the hand bike or the recumbent bike for 10 minutes, and we don't really do a diligent warm-up. Why do we care about a really diligent warm-up? That's going to act as part of your reassessment, right? Maybe that patient comes in and they're feeling tight, or they have a little bit of pain, and maybe a 2 or 3 out of 10 pain. They come in, we hit them with a 10-minute diligent warm-up where we're going through general dynamic specific progression. We're giving them a little bit of load, and oftentimes, I would argue more often than not, they will tell you that pain went away, that tightness went away, that knot in their shoulder went away once we started to warm them up and get them moving. So always have time budgeted for a really solid warm-up. And here I have reflections kind of in the way. I have maybe 10 minutes budgeted for the warm-up. So here's an example. This patient is a warm-up, strength and cardiorespiratory fitness session for a patient with rotator cuff-based shoulder pain. So in this warm-up, 3 rounds, 1 minute on the fan bike. So we're getting some pressing through the shoulder with the fan bike. We're getting some horizontal pulling in the shoulder with the fan bike. And of course, we're getting the heart rate up into 15 wall walks, not 15 wall walk-ups like handstand progression, but the old slide your arm up the wall, right? Just some active range of motion, some active assist range of motion. Into 15 band pull-aparts. Again, we're firing up the scaps and the rotator cuffs. Into 8 band strict press each side. We're going through that 3 rounds, and maybe each round we are progressing the resistance on the bands, or we're otherwise making the warm-up a little bit more and more challenging to prepare the body, prepare the shoulder for the strength session. So everything goes good in the warm-up. Here we have strength. We put strength first because it's more demanding on the muscles, especially if we're trying to lift heavy, and it's more demanding on the neuromuscular system as well when we're trying to lift heavy. So we should always put strength first if we're actually trying to make somebody stronger. That should always come before conditioning. We don't always want to do strength. We don't always want to do just conditioning. Sometimes we want to blend them together, but if we are blending them together, we want strength to come first. So here I really have only 3 things written out. And the way I'm going to describe this, if you don't build to the proper intensity suggested for these exercises, yes, this is not going to take a long time. I have 3 exercises. I have a bamboo strict press, 5 reps every 2 minutes for 5 sets. So that's 10 minutes. I have bent over dumbbell rows every 90 seconds for 4 sets. And then I have a 50-foot bottoms up kettlebell carry, both arms every 2 minutes for 4 sets. So if you crunch those numbers, that's really only 20 minutes. So you're thinking 5-minute reassessment, 10-minute warm-up, 20-minute strength. Alan, that's only 35 minutes. I'm not even going to get to my 4 units that my boss is yelling me at. But that's because we're not just starting here, right? We're going to make sure that these are properly dosed. And here I have reps in reserve used, and we know that we can correlate reps in reserve to RPE and % of 1 rep max. So the first exercise is going to be the most demanding. It's going to be a bamboo strict press every 2 minutes for 5 sets. We're doing 5. Here the dose is I want you to feel like you have 3 reps in reserve, 3 reps in the tank. What does that correlate to? That correlates to about 85% of 1 rep max. So that's quite heavy. And now we're not, if we already have a load from a previous week, a previous session, then that will let us get to here sooner. But there's time again in each of these exercises to warm it up, right? In strength conditioning, we would call this building. You don't just jump to the prescribed weight. You're going to build to that weight. That's going to let you know, are we actually going to get to that weight today? And on the other side, it's going to let us know, is the weight that we have, the intensity that we have written out, is that now too easy for the patient? That's the goal, right? That the intensity you have written down, they are now stronger than that. They are now faster than that. That lets you know that all of this stuff is actually working. So we're going to build to about feeling like 3 reps in reserve is left on that bar. And that's when I'm gonna set this timer. Those are our working sets. So we would call those the working sets. We're not just going to do 5 sets of 5 and hopefully by the last set, stumble upon the intensity that we want. That would mean all those sets before that were underdosed, right? If we draw that in a picture form, over here, if we only get to where we want on that last set, that means these other sets were below threshold, right? And so we want to make sure that we actually get to that prescribed intensity, and that's when we start our timer, and that's when we start our working sets. That's how we know that we're properly dosing that person. So even though this says every 2 minutes for 5 sets, it might take us 15 or 20 minutes to actually do that exercise once we're building, once we actually get the weight that we want on the bar and actually hit it. So we don't just blow through it and do 5 sets of 5 and hopefully stumble upon the correct resistance that we wanted by the time that we're done, or maybe never get there. That can happen as well. We want to be diligent, build towards that weight, and then make those our working sets. So that's the bamboo strict press. Then we're going to go into some dumbbell bent over rows, so some horizontal pulling. Same thing. Here I have sets of 8, and I have 2 to 3 reps in reserve. I know that's going to correlate to about 75% of 1 rep max. So again, we are building strength, but this is going to be a little bit more hypertrophy focused than pure strength. Then we're going to finish with 50 feet of bottoms up kettlebell carry. Here it's tough with that. We don't often max out our bottoms up kettlebell carry. It's hard to assign reps in reserve to that. So with that last piece, I'm mainly looking to just build time under tension. And I want that to look kind of rough from a movement mechanic quality wise. I want that to be kind of shaky. That lets me know that it's challenging, right? We know if somebody just walks up and down the clinic with that bottoms up kettlebell and they're not shaking at all, it's probably not challenging. So here I'm more looking for a little bit of movement mechanic breakdown to let me know I'm where I want to be, instead of trying to give reps in reserve or percent of a 1 rep max bottoms up kettlebell carry. So 3 really, really diligently focused rotator cuff strength exercises that maybe take 30 minutes, including the time to build to the proper intensity for those weights. And so now we're at maybe 40, 45, 50 minutes. What do we have left in the session? We have maybe 10 to 20 minutes left in the hour. So we're certainly not out of time, but we do have time left to do something. And this is not the time to throw somebody on a cold pack or E-stem. We can still get some quality work in. What can we do? We can do whatever you want to call it. Cool down, accessory work, cardiorespiratory fitness. We know all of that stuff will have a benefit for the patient. So maybe we're doing some hypertrophy work for that cuff. Maybe we're doing a 12-minute remom. Minute 1, max reps of a sideline dumbbell shoulder flexion. Minute 2, max reps of sideline dumbbell horizontal abduction. Minute 3, max reps of sideline dumbbell external rotation. So we're 3 really focused rotator cuff exercises going to failure with that dumbbell. We know over time we can get this done with very low weight because they're going to get more and more fatigued. In minute 4, we're giving them rest. So they're going to fatigue, they're going to muscular failure in that minute, and then they get the rest of that minute to rest. That's going to ramp up their heart rate a little bit. And for this person, it's really going to crush their rotator cuff too, right? Some hypertrophy drop set work before they finish for the day. Or maybe my patient is like the majority of the humans on the planet and they need to get into more shape. And so we can get them in a little bit better shape. We can tackle their hypertension. We can tackle their diabetes while we're still addressing their shoulder strength and pain. So maybe down here at the bottom, I've got a 9-minute remom. Minute 1, max reps of a plate ground to overhead. 15 plate ground to overhead. And then minute 2, max calories on the skier. What is that doing? That's facilitating lactate clearance. We talk a lot about that in our exercise physiology class, how we can leverage lactate clearance to maintain higher intensity, to get more reps done at a higher weight by using opposing muscle groups, right? So with that plate ground to overhead, we're using our legs and our pressing muscles. Minute 2 on the ski machine, we can use a row or 2. We're using our horizontal pulling muscles. So now we are facilitating some lactate clearance from our pressing muscles. That's gonna leave our pressing muscles more refreshed for the next time we come around in the remom. And then maybe minute 3 after the ski machine, we have a minute of rest to let our heart rate calm down from the ski machine, and then we go back through that. So we have maybe 10 minutes on the end there for some accessory work, some hypertrophy work, some cardiorespiratory fitness. A lot of folks ask, how do you just justify this looks just like exercise? Well, the benefits of general exercise are enormous, let alone this is specific exercise to that person's injury. So I have no problem justifying that in my notes, right? The person's shoulder is getting stronger. Their pain is going to get better. With that high intensity spike in their heart rate from the ski machine or the rower is going to have enormous health benefits. Deeper sleep. There are a billion ways you can justify that if you feel like you need to justify that in your note. But always finishing that last 10 minutes, still trying to keep it active, not as intense as the heavy strength training, but still getting the heart rate up, still tackling some shoulder-focused exercises in a constructive manner. So start to finish, that looks like an hour, right? There's no wasted time. It's all accounted for when everything goes according to plan. But that's 60 minutes start to finish, right? That's reassessment, making sure the patient is doing better. If it's not, addressing it, addressing why that person may not be doing better, warming them up, getting into some focused strength work, and then some cool down accessory work, some cardiorespiratory fitness as well. Dosing out some high intensity functional training to make that person stronger and harder to kill as they leave the clinic. So that's what it looks like. It's usually not done early, but it's usually not running over, right? There isn't 90 minutes of work or 2 hours of work on this whiteboard. Certainly no one walks into your clinic hoping that they can be there for 2 or 3 times as long as they plan to. So it's about an hour. This does involve a little bit of planning on the front end, right? Before each of my patients comes in, I have this written down. And again, Mitch talked about why it's important to have a whiteboard, because sometimes people come in and I have this all written out and I erase all of it. Sometimes I don't have to erase any of it. Sometimes I erase some of it, change some of it, but sometimes I erase all of it. And that's why we have the whiteboard. But just spending, this took me 2 or 3 minutes before I clicked go live here to write all this down. So having a little bit of focused planning of where you want to take that person based on how they're doing, and then using the reassessment to make sure they're on track and continue progressing them towards meeting their goals. So I hope that helps. A lot of folks ask, what does it actually look like in practice? That's what it looks like. Again, if you're on the podcast, make sure you jump over to one of our visual platforms so you can see the whiteboard and get an idea of what I've been talking about. So that's all I've got for you. I hope you have a great Friday. It's going to be 70 and sunny here, so I'm going to go get outside. I'll see you all next week for Q&A Monday. Make sure you shoot us your questions. If you have questions for me or in general about ice, I'll answer them Monday morning. Other than that, have a great Friday. Have a great weekend. Bye, everybody.
Hey, thanks for tuning in to the PT on Ice Daily Show. If you enjoyed this content, head on over to iTunes and leave us a review. And be sure to check us out on Facebook and Instagram at the Institute of Clinical Excellence. If you're interested in getting plugged into more ICE content on a weekly basis while earning CEUs from home, check out our virtual ICE online mentorship program at ptonice.com. While you're there, sign up for our Hump Day Hustling newsletter for a free email every Wednesday morning with our top 5 research articles and social media posts that we think are worth reading. Head over to ptonice.com and scroll to the bottom of the page to sign up.